Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. The rush to manufacture EVs that the Biden-Harris administration was pressuring automakers to do is not working out so well. General Motors announcing this week they're laying off more than 1,200 workers at its electric vehicle plant in Detroit. We have the story for you. A squatting nanny is in the news in upstate New York after refusing to leave a couple's lavish $1 million farmhouse and turning their life into, quote, a living hell, according to the couple. What is going on in Oconee County? Have you been keeping up with the story of the United Homes Group, their proposed 5,200 housing development in the Mill Village of Newry? It's led to the Clemson University president, Jim Clements, and former Governor Nikki Haley resigning their positions on their board of directors. Now we're learning about this mystery flight that may have cost the county administrator, Amanda Brock, her job. We have those details too. And as we wrap up our final day in Jerusalem, Ryan Lifchitz, with the Jewish News Syndicate, has been my host this week. He joins us to offer his perspective of how the people of Israel feel about their own prime minister and President Donald Trump. It's another busy day. Let's get started.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Enough news out of Detroit this week. General Motors has laid off more than 1,200 workers at its electric vehicle plant in the city, along with more than 550 more at the Ultimum Cell facility in Ohio. That's in addition to the 850 temporary layoffs that have already been announced. The job cuts are not going to stop there. GM is also temporarily laying off more than 700 workers at a battery plant in Tennessee and nearly 120 more across other EV-related facilities, this according to the Detroit News. These moves come as General Motors scales back its electric vehicle efforts. This is in response to what it calls a significant pullback in EV demand. During its third quarter earnings call, CFO Paul Jacobson pointed to an industry-wide pricing struggle, saying that more competitors were offloading EVs at steep discounts just to move the inventory. Now, compounding this issue, the recent rollback of the $7,500 federal EV tax credit under President Donald Trump's administration. This was the tax credit that Joe Biden pushed heavily. This policy change has also shaken up consumer confidence in the EV market. Now, we knew that was coming, didn't we? You always know that when an administration, when politics gets involved in the marketplace, it never turns out very good. People aren't ready to be forced to buy electric vehicles. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they couldn't understand that. That's why they're not in the White House now. GM also announced that it's shutting down production of the Bright Drop electric delivery van at its Ontario facility in Canada, again citing low demand. CEO Mary Barra still insists that EVs are GM's North Star, but the company is absorbing a $1.6 billion charge tied to these latest developments, with $1.2 billion of that from scaling back EV production capacity. In a separate interview, Barra called out overcapacity in China's EV market, noting that more than 100 manufacturers are competing aggressively on price, a situation she says is unsustainable. We knew it. I mean, we knew that it couldn't work if the demand wasn't there, right? Latest on the government shutdown. It's entering its fourth week. According to one Republican senator, the political walls may finally be closing in on Democrats. Senator Kevin Cramer of North Dakota, one of the more level-headed, common-sense conservatives up on Capitol Hill, says that Democrats are starting to feel the heat in, I said beginning the fourth week. Actually, this is ending the fourth week. Starting to feel the heat from their own voters as the shutdown begins to hit home in some very real ways. Senator Cramer joined Newsmax's Wake Up America and didn't mince words. He said bluntly that Democrats are starting to see the light, or at least they're starting to feel the pain. He told Rob Finnerty, the host on Newsmax, quote, "We're hearing from Democrats, particularly in these last few hours and last day or two, that just think it's intolerable to go into November very far with a government shutdown because the real pain is going to hit home." And you really you can't argue with that logic. The longer this thing drags on, the worse it gets. And not for the politicians, but for real people. Senator Cramer laid it out clearly. School lunch programs aren't getting their money. SNAP benefits, the food assistance, they're on hold, and that's where people are crying the loudest, as they should. We're going to have senior citizens. We're going to have low-income families who aren't going to be able to buy food. Air traffic controllers are going unpaid. Now, you know that's my concern as I'm headed back to the States tomorrow. I want those air traffic controllers sitting in the tower at JFK as I come home. And law enforcement agencies, of course. Our first responders from the FBI to Border Patrol are having to tighten their belt. As Senator Cramer put it, when the country becomes less safe, that's real. And it is. This isn't some theory. This is not political science that you read in a book or some budget experiment. These are real Americans, real people. Now, let's look at this. It's an important distinction that often gets lost in the cable news shouting matches. These shutdowns don't just hurt Washington, they hurt the working class. The truth is, Republicans in the House, under Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader John Thune over in the Senate, they're trying their best. The House has already passed a clean bipartisan continuing resolution. The problem, Senate Democrats keep blocking it, and Majority Leader John Thune can't seem to get enough Democrats to come over. The Democrats keep blocking it. 14 times now they've voted no to reopening the government. That despite the fact that 3 Democrats actually have voted with the Republicans every single time. Proof that the so-called partisan package that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries keeps telling the media it is. Now, Cramer said flat out, the House of Representatives passed a bill, and by the way, it's a bipartisan bill. Hakeem Jeffries is lying to you and to the American people when he says it's partisan. We've had 3 Democrats vote for this bill 13 times. And he's right. The Republican plan simply funds the government at current levels. It doesn't touch Obamacare. It just doesn't extend it, which is what they want. It doesn't slash Medicaid. It doesn't defund hospitals or clinics. It gets the government back open when hopefully Congress can do their job. So why do the Democrats continue to hold out? Because according to Senator Cramer, this has nothing to do with health care. It has everything to do with what they perceive as leverage. This week, we heard Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer admit on Fox News that the shutdown was a leverage point. We've heard several others use that term leverage. Senator Cramer and others say that's hostage-taking, plain and simple. And they are. They're holding the federal government hostage. That's exactly what this is, and you can't say otherwise. He pointed out that Senator Schumer's been playing this game for years, holding up spending bills, bundling them into what's called an omnibus and dropping it on lawmakers' desk at the last minute. We've heard that story too, haven't we? Where they put thousands and thousands of pages in front of members of Congress wanting to vote. That's the old Nancy Pelosi vote on it and read it later. As Senator Kramer said, Chuck Schumer wouldn't allow them to be brought to the floor because he wanted to consolidate all of the, it's like a Christmas tree at the end of the year, put a gun to everybody's head and say, if you want your thing, you have to say everything I want. You have to vote for all of it if you want a particular program back home. It's hostage taking. And it's Washington gamesmanship 101. It's exactly the kind of politics that all Americans are sick of. We're tired of hearing this. Meanwhile, on the ground, the pain is spreading. Federal Aviation Administration says staffing shortages are starting to cause flight delays as unpaid air traffic controllers are starting to skip shifts. The military, days away from missing its their first paycheck this past week. Nutrition benefits, including the food aid for low-income families, running out of cash. They're going to want those credit cards recharged next on November the 1st. The money's not there. This is just, we've had enough. This is just unbelievable that the Democrats can't realize that they're hurting the very people they're supposed to be serving.
Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com.
Continuing today's show on our final day here in Jerusalem, for those of you who have been following our trip here, you can still catch it. A lot of the photos and videos and stuff that I've been posting on social media. Be sure and find me on Facebook. Just search for Joey Hudson. You can find me on my YouTube channel. I've been posting some videos there as well. Just search for Joey Hudson on YouTube. And while you're there, be sure and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build my audience there. And it's just fun. It's just fun to share with you this great trip that I've been able to experience here in Israel. Coming up in just a few minutes, I'm going to share my conversation that I had with a young man who has helped us on a number of occasions here as we broadcast from the Jewish News Syndicate. Ryan Lifchitz will be joining me in a few minutes to just talk about what people here in Israel think of the United States, what they think of their own prime minister, and where he thinks this conflict with Hamas is headed, whether or not they will abide by the ceasefire agreed upon. So that's coming up in just a few minutes. You know, as someone who has owned rental property over the years, this story out of New York kind of got my attention. Headline, Squatting Nanny Makes Couples Lavish $1 Million Upstate New York Farmhouse a Living Hell. The story published in the New York Post. And here's what happened. A wealthy couple who thought they had found their dream nanny to help with their newborn daughter soon found themselves in literally a living nightmare when the caregiver allegedly refused to leave their upstate New York home after things kind of turned sour. We've heard this story a couple times before, haven't we? This involved Barbara Molnar. She checked all the boxes that Jamie Carano Nordenstrom and her husband, Philip, were looking for when she answered their ad on Nanny Lane in the summer of 2024. The mom of four, had 2 grandkids, was definitely absolutely in love with children, according to the couple. They recalled how Molnar was hired part-time for 18 hours a week at $25 an hour. Her experience as a parent and nanny was a much-needed asset for these new parents. She, according to the parents, she baked teething biscuits and read German books to their daughter, whom they wanted to grow up at least bilingual. And in the consultants restored $1 million colonial farmhouse in Hillsdale, New York, everything was good. Everybody was happy. Philip and Jamie Nordenstrom has filed a lawsuit, though, against their since fired nanny. While the Nordenstrom's nanny, their ad said a guest house is provided, the couple was hoping to find a full-time caregiver for their little girl. When Monar asked if she could move in back in December of 2024, they allowed her to do so, rent-free, as Jamie wanted to avoid giving her legal status as a tenant. Again, this according to the New York Post. Now, it didn't take long for things to implode, with the nanny defying every rule that the Nordenstroms had set up. They said that she was told the guest house was pet-free. The nanny brought her yellow Labrador named Hudson, great name, and asked if her youngest son could visit over Christmas while on break from boarding school, and they allowed her to do so. However, the young son never left. Monar, who also allegedly refused to clean up after herself in the shared spaces of the property, or if the dog, Hudson, did his business in the garden or inside the home, according to the couple, she wouldn't even clean it up. However, they needed a nanny, so they tried to keep peace with the mother telling the New York Post that her husband and Monar's son would play chess together and that they'd pay her to cook lavish French meals. However, when the couple returned from their native Sweden in June, they found teenagers hanging out and around their pool, and no room in either of their refrigerators for their groceries, as there was just loads and loads of food crammed in there. Also, the vacuum was clogged with dog hair. So after shutting the party down, the wife went to sleep, only to be awakened by the nanny making a noise in the kitchen. She confronted the nanny, who was angry that her boss had embarrassed her son in front of his buddies, they said. Monar lived in an annexed property near the family's home. The nanny, however, said that the Nordenstroms were aware that her dog was moving in with her and that her son would be staying there some too. Well, things just went south. And I think you know the story here. As soon as they fired her and asked her to leave their property, she starts claiming tenants' rights. And it has turned into a landlord-tenant dispute. Now, the couple started doing some deeper research into this lady, and come to find out, this was not her first rodeo. After filing a lawsuit and taking the lady to court, the judge eventually made her move out. But they found out that she had done this to other people as well. She would apply for a job as a nanny. She would move in, would abuse the property, and would refuse to leave. And the crazy thing is, sometimes the courts would support her and allow her to stay there for extended periods of time. That's the craziness of landlord-tenant laws in some states. Continuing our broadcast from Jerusalem, what is so special about being in the Holy Land is speaking to the people here who call Israel home. Ryan Lifchitz has been our host this week at the Jewish News Syndicate, where they have graciously allowed us to use their state-of-the-art studios. For information about this great organization, go to jns.org. Ryan, thank you again for your warm hospitality and again allowing us to hang out in the JNS studios.
Ryan, let's start with the news in Jerusalem today. An estimated hundreds of thousands protesting in the city. Can you explain to Americans what that's all about?
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me on. So there is a group of the society known as the ultra-Orthodox, or the Haredim in Hebrew, and they are against serving in the army for the most part. There's a small percentage of them who do serve, but there's a larger percentage that is against it and spend most of their time learning Torah or the Bible in the places of study known as yeshivas. And so a lot of the main rabbis are, telling their students not to serve and to resist serving in the army. And there's a bill being passed in the Knesset right now, basically saying that the ultra-Orthodox do have to serve in the army. And, most of the society who is not of the ultra-Orthodox sect agree that these people should participate. So right now there's a big protest going on in the entrance of Jerusalem. Hundreds of thousands of people of the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox, are there protesting against serving in the army.
There were reports that the city of Jerusalem would actually potentially be shut down today. Is that actually the case? And does it appear that as many protesters showed up as have been estimated?
It looks like just basically the entrance to the city. Where we are is actually the other side of the city, so it doesn't affect us so much. But yeah, the entrance has been shut down. The main highway, which is the main highway between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, was shut down today. There were major traffic reports. But it seems to be like 100,000 people at least have shown up for this protest.
Ryan Lifchitz is my guest today. The Union of Journalists in Israel says that they're looking into reports of violence against some correspondents, some camera crews as a result of the protest, claiming that one reporter was pelted with plastic bottles. Have you heard any reports of violence?
I haven't heard any reports of violence. I did see a couple of videos, and I did see plastic bottles being thrown around. And at these protests, it does get a little bit out of control when you have that many people and tensions are rising, and emotions are high. So it does happen. I didn't see any reports myself, but I can imagine that there have been some instances of misbehavior, I'm sure.
Ryan, let's talk for a minute. And in your words, and what I love about being here in Israel is just getting firsthand accounts of how Israelis view Americans, our country, our leadership. Talk with me a minute about that. What's Israelis' view of America right now?
I think Israelis love America right now. They see what's going on with the current administration as something very, very positive. The fact that the President Trump and Jared Kushner, along with Steve Witkoff, were able to secure the release of the hostages was such a gift to the people here. Been protests, weekly protests, for 2 years now to try and get these people who were kidnapped back. So that was just such a massive success for the society here, because we couldn't move forward knowing that our brothers and sisters, and there's still bodies, unfortunately, being held in Gaza by Hamas, knowing that there are our brothers and sisters are still there. We couldn't really move forward as a society. So the fact that Trump was able to secure that was just a massive, massive win for the society here. Israelis love America. As you can probably tell from my accent, I grew up in America. I grew up in Chicago. And I have Israeli cousins here, and they're all the time ask me, and even just other Israeli friends, why did you leave? What are you, nuts? Like, why would you come to this country when you're like live in the land of freedom and liberty and prosperity, America? And America really is that. And Israelis do see America as this like beacon of freedom and prosperity. So they really do love Israel, or really do love America.
You know, I think it's hard for Americans to understand this region. This is my sixth trip of being here, but it's just kind of hard for me to explain to my family, my friends, my listeners that, I mean, we're sitting here in Jerusalem, maybe 50 miles or so from the Gaza the border. Our last trip Mike and I went down to Nir Oz, the kibbutz there that was attacked. We saw where the music festival was, and it's just so close, but yet life seems to be so normal here. Of course, the Hamas violated the ceasefire just earlier this week. Benjamin Netanyahu, your prime minister, answered pretty forcefully. Do you think that was the right decision, was to hit them hard again?
It's hard to say if that was the right decision. I think clearly we need to send a strong message to the terrorist organization of Hamas that we're not going to put up with any killing of our soldiers. A reservist was killed the other day in Gaza. And, yeah, I think that is the right response. It seems to be. You can't just sit back and do nothing about it. As you mentioned, it is a very, very small country, and the Gaza border is a 2-hour drive down south. An hour and a half maybe, and that's what's so incredible is that our brave soldiers are going back and forth from the front, which is, as I mentioned, so close, back to civilian life, and then having to go back to the front. And a lot of these guys are serving multiple months in Gaza, and it's incredibly difficult for them and their families. And it's hard for the soldiers going back and forth from a war to normal civilian life and back and forth. So it's been interesting. But I think, look, we have to respond with force. I think that's what really, in the end, brought Hamas to the table when we started encircling Gaza City, and we'll see how this plays out. But hopefully the ceasefire holds going forward, and any break from Hamas will have to respond.
Ryan Lifchitz with the Jewish News Syndicate is with me today. You can find out additional information about this wonderful organization at jns.org. They've been our host this week in their beautiful state-of-the-art studios here. Ryan, you mentioned the peace agreement. Let's talk about that for a minute. President Trump being given a lot of credit for that. Do you think that it is going to hold? I mean, this region, we're looking at hundreds of years here. We know what Hamas is capable of. This just today, we learned of the story of them literally planting a body and calling the Red Cross as if they had, discovered it here. Are they capable of adhering to a peace agreement?
Well, no. They're not. I think we have to, really see them for what they are. They're an Islamic fascist organization, terrorist organization that is hell-bent on destroying the Jewish people and taking over the entire country of Israel. We're still in phase one of returning the bodies and returning the hostages. And initially that was only supposed to last 72 hours. And Hamas has repeatedly broken that. And as you mentioned, they buried a body and then exhumed it and pretended that was like a new hostage that they had found and called over the Red Cross, and that was returned. And we later found out that it was a hostage who was previously returned and had been killed in Gaza. So we're still in phase one, and phase two is the difficult part, which is disarmament. And I cannot see Hamas relinquishing their weapons. I mean, okay, it was one thing to give over the hostages, which was incredible feat that President Trump was able to secure. That was their main leverage. But now their weapons, to give away their weapons, I can't see it. These people their ideology is jihad, and they will not stop until they have taken over the country and moved the Jews and conquered the Jews from this land. So in my mind, I cannot see this ceasefire going on and phase two actually being implemented. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe Trump has something up his sleeve, and maybe the other Sunni Arab countries can actually enforce it. But that remains to be seen.
There are a lot of similarities. You mentioned President Trump between how Americans view our president. Some love to hate him, I guess you'd say. You see the same thing here in Israel with your prime minister. In general, the people of Israel that you work with daily here at JNS and your friends and family in the community, what is your view of Benjamin Netanyahu?
I mean, my view personally is that he's done an amazing job managing the war, managing the international pressure that has come down on him and on the Jewish people in Israel, the amount of anti-Semitism and the amount of global support for this intifada and Hamas, a terrorist organization, has been just completely surprising and completely, taken us all aback. And Benjamin Netanyahu, he has stood his ground, and he has been, since the beginning of the war, very adamant about achieving the war's goals, which is the disarmament of Hamas, making sure that they have no future in the rule of Gaza, and getting back the hostages. Okay, so we're in the process of fully getting back all of the hostages, and the next stage is the disarmament and demilitarization. We'll see if that happens. But I mean, look, a lot of people love to hate Bibi. He's a controversial figure. He's been prime minister for multiple terms now, and people are sort of like, okay, who's next? They want to see like a fresh leadership. There still does need to be like some sort of panel on what happened, what went wrong, and the prime minister should have to answer to the best of his ability and explain it, what happened to the country, because we're still, people are upset about that. How this happened on his watch. He's the prime minister, he's the head of the country, whether or not he had all the information from the military echelons, whatever, but he does have some questions to answer.
Ryan, thank you again for your time. Thank you for the wonderful hospitality here at JNS.
You're most certainly welcome. Come back soon.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Continuing today's broadcast from Jerusalem. This is our final day in Israel, and glad to have you joining us. And again, thanks to our partners here, the Jewish News Syndicate, who have allowed us to use their state-of-the-art, beautiful studios during our stay here. I talked with you about a story a few weeks ago out of Oconee County that involves a proposed housing development in the small mill village of Newry. Oconee County's County Council Chairman Matthew Durham continues to dig in on this story of United Home Groups, which is a South Carolina-based home builder, who had proposed like a 5,200 home large-scale development with in this small former mill village known as Newry inside Oconee County. And it appears there was a pretty cozy relationship with Clemson University and this builder. Now this is according to Chairman Durham, and he's done a lot of research and has written quite a bit about this over the last few weeks or few months. The revelation of the project led to the resignation of both Clemson University President Jim Clements and Governor Ambassador Nikki Haley, who were both on the board of directors of UHG until they recently resigned from the board. The latest developments center on a trip on the company's private jet to Purdue University and their Discovery Park, which evidently is a mixed-use development that UHG wanted to use as a model for the proposed Newry project. Again, this is according to Matthew Durham and the Journal, Seneca's newspaper, who had a front-page story in yesterday's edition. And let me again, let's just back up and do a quick review here, if you will. This was a proposed 5,200 unit housing development. Clemson University
who's been at the center of this, issued a statement yesterday. They've responded to the claims that it has this special cozy connection with United Homes Group, the proposed developer. In their statement, they said, and I'm reading, Clemson University has not been involved in the proposed 5,200 housing development project in Oconee County. At no point has the university provided funding for, partnered on, or endorsed the planning or construction of any residential development related to this proposal. The university said yesterday in their statement, quote, assertions of Clemson's involvement in the Oconee housing development are false and misrepresent Clemson's role. The university said in being consistent with its land grant mission, it routinely reviews economic development proposals brought forth by community and industry partners. They went on to say the Newry project was proposed to the university in November 2023 as a standard practice. An administrative team conducted a preliminary review to assess the multi-use concept's potential economic and community impact. According to the university, this review included a site visit to Purdue University's Discovery Park with other project representatives from Oconee County and the South Carolina Department of Commerce. The university said after its due diligence, it decided not to pursue the economic development initiative. They went on to say, we take seriously any attempt to mischaracterize Clemson's actions or intentions. The university is committed to open, fact-based communication and intends to respond directly to the letters received by both Oconee County Council and Senator Thomas Alexander. They concluded with Clemson values its longstanding relationship with Oconee County and remains focused on its mission of education, research, public service, and statewide economic development. Now, the university's latest statement comes in wake of former county administrator Amanda Brock, and I say former because the Oconee County Council terminated their relationship with Ms. Brock, and according to Durham, he said it was because of broken trust and undisclosed knowledge of this trip to Purdue University. Mr. Durham said council was never informed of the trip, including at its special called meeting on October 17th when it drafted letters to be sent to both Senator Alexander, and the university asking for an investigation of the former and transparency of the latter, according to the article. Durham said, I first learned of the trip, literally by happenstance, from a county employee during a casual conversation at the Walhalla Oktoberfest luncheon. Following that same council meeting, he said, during our discussion, the employee said, it's always been United Homes Group that's who went up there with Clemson University. So this was the first that the county council knew of this trip to Purdue. It was sort of a fact-finding trip for the builder, the developer, to show the university just what kind of plan they had that they had in mind for the Newry site. Now, a few weeks ago, when Mr. Durham disclosed some architectural drawings and some development plans of what this proposed development was going to be like, it showed practice fields and other facilities that apparently would be shared with Clemson University. And that's what Purdue University, that's how they partnered with a local developer there as well. The problem with this is there's just too many moving parts and too many people who are saying one thing, but maybe there's more to the story. So it's going to be interesting to watch as the county, and evidently Matthew Durham, the county council chairman, is not going to let this story die. He's continuing to ask questions, and you gotta ask the question, and it's a valid question, of why the county administrator, Miss Amanda Brock, did not disclose to her boss, the county council, when they were discussing this, that sometime last year she had been on this company's jet flying to another state to view a similar development. It does sound a little suspicious, doesn't it? I mean, when your county administrator is involved in these discussions and doesn't volunteer that information, you can see why Matthew Durham and I assume the rest of the Oconee County Council has questions about this entire thing. Again, I don't know a whole lot about this project other than what I've read in local news, what I've read in things that Mr. Durham has posted. The old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, seems to be true about this particular story. And in their article, the Journal published a list of people on that flight from Clemson: Rick Patillo, Chief Financial Officer; Laura Stoner, Director of Land and Capital Asset Stewardship, and the list goes on. Durham said that flight and who was on it confirms that coordination between Clemson University and UHG has existed from the very beginning. He makes a point.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.